Someone is asking if she should pray for others. And in this case, how to pray for others without interfering in their destiny and karma. On a certain level of understanding, we know that we should not pray for anyone while in our prayer work we have not reached an elevated level of concentration and concentration on in our being. This is a level of understanding. It's not for everyone. Because there are people who pray emotionally or who pray mentally, and they like praying for others. And if they like to do it and they feel well doing it, they should do it, because it's better to pray for others than to talk bad about others. There's no comparison. So instead of talking bad about others, praying for others, you are doing it's better than talking bad. But there are more elevated levels of being and working. And on another level of consciousness, we don't pray for anyone while our prayer and while our focus is not on our best level. This because if we pray from a mental level, emotional level, we are emitting to others, we are emitting thoughts, waves, stimuli to others, which could interfere in other states. So we could start to be responsible or co-responsible for that which happens to others from then on. And if the strength of our prayer and the strength of our thought has changed anything in others or has influenced others telepathically in some degree in a wrong direction which had not been foreseen by the spirit of others, we are then responsible for everything that happens there. Now, this is not the only level of prayer that exists. We could pray mentally, and this is the result. We could pray emotionally, and this is also the result when we pray for others. But if we place ourselves on our best level, that is, if we are already in an elevated level of our beings, where our concentration, our presence is on a level beyond this brain and emotional mechanism, then we are on a plane of energy with our consciousness that is beyond this material karma. When then our prayer is on this level beyond human mental, when we are in silence and peaceful and harmonious on this very elevated level, then, being on this level, you can pronounce others' names. Because then you don't create karma, because you are pronouncing others' names where there is no longer material karma. This is not interesting for others, because emotional people are always in a hurry to resolve their problems, and they think they will pray for others to resolve their problems, and with this they are creating karma and eventually collaborating for others to do something that had not been foreseen for them. This is something that we understand that is others' good, but we really don't know if it is. So here, if in our prayer exercise, or if in our interiorization, or in our silence prayer work, we reach this level beyond our thought, beyond our will, beyond our intention, if we are on a level of energy that is very elevated, everything that is placed there, names of people, situations, all of this is surrendered to this level of energy. So something that you are asking for will not will not happen. You have rendered the service to place the situation of others inside of there, and it is this level, this impersonal energy, this elevated energy that is going to work on the subject. It's going to include the subject, it's going to include others, and this is truly a great work. This is the sort of help that the great initiated grant us. No being who has an elevated consciousness prays for others. What they do is to be stable on their greatest level, and on that level they pronounce our name. With this, they don't need to know what is happening with us. They don't need to know what we are in need for. And they don't try to know what has happened afterwards. It's a work of simply placing oneself on our best level and then remember others. These prayerful beings of high category place themselves on the highest level, and from there they think about us, and there everything that is supposed to happen happens. The conclusion that is taken from this is that we first of all must learn how to pray, so that afterwards we can pray for others. Otherwise, we are really interfering in a process that we don't know. That is, we first train ourselves in prayer, reach prayer, and then after really praying, we are going to work with prayer. But this path of search for prayer and learning in prayer brings a lot of benefit to the world, even if we are not consciously there wanting to do anything, because we know we are interfering rather than truly doing. But the fact that someone is interested in prayer, that someone is preparing themselves in prayer or praying their own way, for the world in a general way, this is a great benefit, because this elevates the vibration of the world. By praying, you are emitting vibrations, you are on a level of intentions that is much higher than a common mind, a common activity of expression working. And someone asks if silent prayer, if it's more efficient than spoken or sung or thought prayer. The formal prayer, the spoken prayer or sung prayer or thought prayer, this prayer that uses formulas even, this sort of prayer, if it's using a positive formula, it is always doing a positive work in beings initially, because it is an external work, it is a superficial manifestation of the being, and they are in the control of the forces that are there, working there. So if they are pronouncing a formal prayer, they are there knowing the meaning of what they are saying, their mind is connected to that meaning, so there is no risk in this. There is the positive side of this activity. Now, silent prayer, the prayer that is not formal at all, the silent prayer that is our trying to be in our inner worlds informally, to be quiet still there, this is not for everyone. This is not for everyone because some who don't have their minds trained in this concentration, have their minds and brains tired of being insisting in silence, in emptiness, when it would be better for their minds and brains to be busy with a formula of prayer, with a song or mantra, to be occupied with a text, with a formal prayer. Because then the brain and the mind will be occupied with that way of praying, and the intention of the individual is there, is developed there, and everything that could happen of positive will gradually happen. If they start praying a silent prayer, what the brain and the mind begin to produce during that effort of being paralyzed, this could be a reaction, or they could be occupying themselves of things that are even opposite to the individual's intention. This when the brain and the mind are still not used to this. And there are many people who abandon formal prayer, who abandon these explicit ways of prayer and expressing oneself, and dedicate themselves to be in silence. And they can observe that for not being prepared for this, the worst things they have kept begin to come from their subconsciousness, because the brain and the mind, compressed to be quiet, do not find something to be occupied with, and so this mind goes down to the subconsciousness and brings to the brain everything that shouldn't or was not supposed to be brought to the mind at that moment. So this is delicate, and we should gradually change our process of praying if we want to change. Because some people are very well with formal prayer, but those who want to change the process should do it gradually. They should do it little by little and not suddenly, abruptly. Because with this, they are going to find a tiredness, an incapacity to really realize prayer. And this brings discouragement to people. So we shouldn't be at all in a hurry to abandon formal prayer. Now, if you want to evolve in prayer, if you want to do other sorts of prayer, you can do your formal prayer and dedicate some moments in the middle of the prayer or in the end of the prayer, silent prayer, but short prayer. You should do this effect before the subconscious begins to move. When the subconscious begins to move, it's better to end it. If you do formal prayer, if you do the exercise that we are trained to do, and in the middle or the end of the exercise, you put those moments of silence. And with this, we can train ourselves. And with this, we can gradually learn in our beings, our minds, our brains, our emotional bodies, and even the etherical bodies begin to get used, to adapt, to be attentive, to be turned to their inner worlds without any formality. But this is done little by little. If this is done without a hurry, without ambition, and without preoccupation, you are going to see that the period of silence within the formal prayer does not only gradually increases, but you are going to suddenly feel the need of making this silence. But this need of being silent could not come in the moment of prayer. The moment of prayer could go through regularly with your formal prayer, with your effort to be concentrated, with your moments of silence without formal prayer. And this moves normally, day after day. But with this placing of silence in the middle of formal prayer, at any moment you could feel the need for silence. You are working, you are walking, you are moving from one place to another, and you feel that need for silence. And sometimes the circumstances do not lead you to make physical silence, because you could feel this need for silence being together with other, or on an airplane or a train, and you feel the need for silence. And then you're going to gradually learn how to respond to this need for silence, regardless of what you are doing outside, and regardless of what is happening outside. The higher self, when they see that we are entering the path of prayer or silence, the higher being uses all these resources for us to perfect ourselves, for us to reach this concentration and this alignment. It is the higher being themselves that could send a need for silence when you are speaking, or when you are in an external activity. The higher being sends it for you to train, for you not to be conditioned to do silence only when everything is prepared for this, because not always everything is prepared for this. So if we feel need for silence at this moment, I be silent while I am speaking. You are in silent while you are listening. And if we do other things, we are in silence. These things don't impede you to be in silent prayer. If you are working or speaking to someone, this impedes you to do a formal prayer, because you cannot speak to the person and at the same time be singing your prayer. But silent prayer, there is nothing that impedes you. You could be doing whatever you are doing, and whatever is happening, you can be inside of you in silence and praying. This possibility is very important for service. This is very important for work, and it's very fundamental in a harmonious coexistence. Because in a coexistence, in a talk, in a dialogue, in the middle of an action with others, only there begins to be something of a denser vibration, or something in the any discontrol. Disharmony begins to happen there. While this is happening and you are participating, you enter in prayer. You enter in silence, and no one realizes. What is realized is that things begin to change. So people begin to pronounce things, dance things, low things, and you are there apparently just listening, but you are also praying. You are in silence. And then you are going to see the work of silence. How little by little the silence radiates, emanates. Silence goes around all of that, and suddenly that person is saying with a different vibration. They change their subject, they change their tone. So all of this is prayer. All of this is part of prayer. And of course, it's not a formal prayer. And if this is installed in our consciousness, if this informal prayer, if this silent prayer enters our habits, then we are practically apt and ready to work and serve at any time and any circumstance. The person asks, what's the meaning of The vigil, the vigil hollow in Figueira. If silence are present constantly, why do we need that place? The energy is really present everywhere, it's omnipresent. But this place is a point of catalyzation of our intentions. We have many intentions in the sense of serving, of being available, in the sense of doing an alignment with our inner beings. All of us have many intentions. So there is a physical point represented by a vigil place. This is a point that is offered to catalyze these intentions, because those who move to that place to do a vigil, to speak some moments, this person has an intention. There is the intention of those people. So all these intentions are catalyzed. They are synthesized. And of course, due to continuous presence of intentions there, intention of being silent, intention of being aligned, intention of being quiet, the best intentions of people are there, very well gathered, even etherically, because people are physically there. We could have different intentions that are very dispersed, distracted. But if we move to that place and we spend some time there, this is gathered, this emerges, and there, this intention that could be even a little unconscious, with that structure of the hollow, and the help there is there, the help of the environment, the help of the energies, the help of those who could be helping on the subtle planes. All these intentions are catalyzed, they are gathered. So this is a symbol of all our intentions. Even our intention of being silent. Being silent means to be dedicated, occupied in the only necessary thing. So if you are turned, if you are dedicated, if you are living in function of the only necessary thing, which is your being, that which you are inside, and your being that which you are in the cosmos, then you enter a state of silence. And this is the silence that exists there. As we are not very used to keep this state and keep this proposal and intention for a long time, because we are very distracted in the material world, and we need help to do this. And this help comes mainly from our inner beings that stimulates us to do this. But it's good that the environment may also help. It's good for the environment also to collaborate. That it's an environment that won't distract us and pull us out. That will not lead us to be considering other things while we are in there. So the environment helps. But there is really a catalyzation, a gathering. There is a synthesis there of intentions. And those who do the inner work of the vigil, those who carry out this work internally, those are the ones who get these intentions and send them upwards. So we could not have this mechanism completely prepared, but we put our intention there. Our intention is added up to all other intentions, And the inner work gradually raises those intentions, offering those intentions to the heights. So this is an offering. It's not an offering of one person or two or three. It's not an individual offering. It's an addition of offerings. So it's a place that has a certain strength. And we could collaborate for this strength to be kept, for this strength to be developed, depending on our attitude there and depending on our understanding for these facts. But if we go there a little mechanically, automatically, and a little out of order, so we are not collaborating so much for this to be kept and matured and evolve. And someone asks why the Vigil Hollow is poorly illuminated. And if we are in there and we want to read, it's not possible because there is no enough light. There is an aspect of this work of the permanent vigil, which is our having an opportunity of perceiving things internally. So this is why this place is created in the middle of nature, a place that is not close to other things, that not so many people go, so that it can be renewed. So there is a series of factors there that, among other things, allow us to gradually perceive things internally. So one of the first senses that flourish or emerge when we are in this line is the inner sight. This is one of the first inner senses that flourishes. By inner sight, we don't understand only the individual seeing things with their eyes closed. These are ways of knowing things internally with the help of vision or the help of sight, the inner sight. And for this to have as fewer obstacles for this to happen as possible, the fewer the external illumination, the best. And we are sorry that the vigil cannot happen in complete darkness, because then this would be completely carried out as an offering. So here, as complete darkness is not possible for us to do the vigil without seeing anything, because this capacity would then be much facilitated to do the vigil. This is the reason why the illumination there is moderate. If we remain the correct time in this state of turning inwards, and if we are helped for an environment, if we are not stimulated by anything, and therefore we should have little illumination and see as little as possible and be distracted as little as possible. So if we find the correct time for all of this, because we need some time for these things to make an effect, then there we would have the possibility of being much more awake internally, not only from the sight standpoint, but also from the standpoint of other senses also. And many may not know how to regulate their time in the vigil. They may not know how to deal with this time and stay too long there, or too little, not know how to control this time. So this person is asking why in a place like this there are people who go for the vigil and they fall asleep there. How could this happen? Is this lack of consciousness, lack of awareness? It could be not lack of awareness, it could be lack of regulating the time, because the person doesn't know the right time to be there awake. If for 2 hours they cannot be awake, if they cannot be lucid, they must regulate their time. They must be in contact with the people who organize the vigil and create a different time for them. All of this is established. All of this is organized. Now, not all the cases of us feeling asleep is lack of knowing how to regulate the time we are there. This could happen also for other reasons. Even also because while we are asleep physically, the vigil may be happening in a better way than if we were there awake. So there are things, there are many aspects, many sides, which have different values for us. And even with us, things could happen in a way and have a value, then the same thing have a different value. In a certain moment, I could fall asleep there because it's positive for me to fall asleep, and another time, it could be because I fell asleep because I'm inattentive, disattentive, not aligned, because I didn't calculate my time there. All these things could happen to us in different moments. But it's good for us to have all of this in mind, for us to be aware of these things, because this values our offering, offering. It gives more value to our work and to the offering that is being made to be there. And here they ask if foot washing is healing for the body or if it has a different meaning. Yes, you could there wash your feet and this be a therapy, a procedure that will relax you. This is a procedure that will place you in a different energy that will renew you. If it's current water, this will flowing water, this will renew you. It's an energetic thing, an etheric thing. And if you go there only for this, you can do the foot washing and you will feel revitalized, and this is enough. Now, if you are collaborating with the process of purification in yourself, then the foot washing is something different. If you are conscious that you want to purify yourself, that you are resolved to love the purification that is happening, if you are beside purification, if you are assuming the work of the law of purification in you, you are going to see that you can do this work of purifying yourself until a certain point, because then you will need some help. The foot washing represents this help. The foot washing represents this purification that we cannot do. We do the purification up to a certain point, and this is done. But a part remains as a leftover. A part is connected to our vehicles. So we clean ourselves, but the sole of our feet, the feet are not completely clean. And this needs some help. It needs a different sort of cleanliness. It needs a purer energy than ours. This represents a purer energy represented by water, so that energy takes away all the leftovers that you have no way to eliminate. So the foot washing is a great complement to our work of purification. But foot washing is this whole inner process which is represented by the concrete physical foot washing. So if you are doing the physical foot washing there and you have all of this in mind, if you are there conscious that you have things that you do not manage to eliminate, but you want to eliminate, and if you surrender this to the energy of purification of your purest levels, at that moment, something could happen, which is a union between what happens internally and what happens on the physical plane. So foot washing could also bring physical beneficial consequences. And then these etheric leftovers could be washed away. And this counts a lot, because a leftover on the etheric plane is as if we were with our feet dirty and we could feel that dirtiness. And this is a leftover that we don't have energy to eliminate. Our impurity is so old, so rooted, so installed, that at the moment we wake up to clean ourselves, we cannot do this completely, because it's very old. Because then there we need this purification, this subtler purification, not this purification that will clean the raw thing, the great part of the dirtiness. The foot washing is after the bath, the shower, and in the ceremony of foot washing would take away what you couldn't do alone, on your own. If we are attuned with the law of purification, we can perfectly feel we are in a foot washing at certain moments. We perfectly feel we are being relieved from some burden that we couldn't resolve on our own. So the foot washing is present to remind us of this. All these values, all these symbols, all these processes, all of this belongs to collective unconscious. This is a collective unconscious. If you reach there with faith, sincerity, with love, if you reach that place pure, all of this that is in the unconscious begins to act. You don't need to be aware of these things. The important is that you do things with love. The important thing is that you do things being entire, not being divided. Then all these unconscious values will move, act, and work, and when we realize we are to be found in a different state. This is how things happen. You just should place yourself in the right attitude, because all the rest will be done by the energy.